Welcome to Occult Archives,
where we uncover the mysteries
the myths and legends,
behind history's most feared books,
from mystical grimoires.
to ancient religious texts,
These books carry secrets.
too dangerous to be read.
Are you ready to turn the pages of the unknown?
This is Season 1,
Episode 17,
The Red Dragon.
the Grand Grimoire of Black Magic.
Let's dive in.
So today,
We are plunging
into the fascinating and shadowy world,
of a book known as Le Dragon Rouge,
or more commonly,
The Red Dragon.
or the Grand Grimoire of Black Magic,
Our primary source for this deep dive,
is the grimoire itself.
reportedly printed in 1823 in Nismes, France,
And what makes this text so compelling?
is its bold promise
To unlock the secrets of commanding,
a whole host of spirits
from celestial beings.
to the infernal legions themselves.
Okay, the Grand Grimoire of Black Magic.
That title really grabs your attention, doesn't
It
it?
suggests this is the ultimate guide,
To some pretty potent supernatural abilities,
and our source doesn't hold back.
claiming it reveals how to make the dead speak,
Guarantee lottery wins,
uncover hidden treasures.
among other extraordinary feats,
It's easy to see why a book like this...
would ignite both curiosity and fear throughout history.
Absolutely.
And what's intriguing right from the start,
Is the claim made in the prelude
the author suggests,
that this relatively small book
is actually a condensed version,
of over 20
more complex volumes,
lead ideas
that it takes all that dense knowledge
and boils it down into practical instructions.
for these philosophical operations.
It almost feels like they're saying,
Forget those dusty tomes.
here's the express lane to magical power.
It's like an infomercial for forbidden knowledge.
And then there's this,
Really provocative statement.
that performing these operations,
Doesn't require grappling with your conscience.
and they even cite Saint Cyprian
A historical bishop.
to back that up.
That's a pretty audacious claim right out of the gate.
It immediately positions the book as a valuable treasure.
For those devoted to the mysteries of divine occult science.
What does that tell you about the intended reader?
Well, it suggests an audience,
That is perhaps already inclined towards the esoteric,
but maybe seeking a path.
that circumvents traditional moral or religious constraints.
The text also emphasizes
The rarity and desirability of Le Dragon Rouge,
calling it so sought after.
that some would consider it the true great work,
They even warn against counterfeit versions.
urging seekers to find the true source
It creates this sense,
of an exclusive and powerful knowledge.
hidden from the masses,
And the origin story is suitably epic.
tying it to none other than King Solomon,
The text claims these are Solomon's actual writings.
discovered by chance.
This immediately links the grimoire to a figure,
Synonymous with wisdom and immense power.
adding a layer of ancient authority to its claims. The
Exactly.
text highlights Solomon's supposed ability
To enter the realm of spirits
and compel their obedience,
through his talisman.
which is another term for a magical object.
So his clavicle.
Now, when we see clavicle here,
Think of it as a key,
not just a literal key,
but a symbolic key
or a set of powerful incantations.
that unlock access to the spirit world.
The text even mentions Solomon's access.
To the foudroyant paroles,
These thunderous words
supposedly used by God.
to control rebellious spirits,
This is all about establishing a lineage of power.
connecting the magic in the book to divine and legendary sources.
It's interesting how these grimoires,
Often try to legitimize their magic.
by associating it with respected historical and religious figures,
Then we have this Antonio Veneciana del Rabina mentioned.
who supposedly followed Solomon's teachings and achieved success,
It's like a testimonial right there in the text
aiming to provide some anecdotal evidence.
that this system actually works.
But then, almost immediately,
We get a very serious warning.
to anyone who might attempt these practices,
The text admonishes readers to be firm
unwavering.
and incredibly attentive to every single instruction.
Failure to do so, it says,
Will lead to disadvantage, confusion.
and even total loss,
Success, on the other hand,
is attributed to qualities like intrepidity.
prudence, wisdom, and virtue,
It's presented as a high-stakes endeavor,
where even a slight misstep.
could have serious consequences.
And it's not just about having the right mindset.
There are specific physical preparations involved as well.
The book recommends a quarter moon period of abstinence from women.
To avoid impurity,
That's a pretty significant commitment,
suggesting a need for intense personal focus.
and perhaps a belief.
That certain physical states can interfere with magical work.
What do you make of that kind of requirement?
Well, it's a common theme in many magical traditions.
This idea of ritual purity or focusing one's energies
It could be seen as a way
to heighten the practitioner's spiritual sensitivity
or to conserve personal power.
for the demanding rituals ahead.
It certainly sets a tone of seriousness and sacrifice.
Following this initial warning
The text gets into the nitty-gritty.
of the preparation rituals,
First, there's a promise to Adonai.
which involves committing to a very specific eating schedule
Only 2 meals a day
at noon and midnight.
throughout this entire lunar quarter,
This sounds like a form of self-denial.
perhaps intended to purify the body and mind,
And right alongside this dietary promise,
is a prayer to Adonai,
invoking Adonai, Elohim, and Jehovah.
all powerful divine names.
The practitioner offers their soul, heart, and being in this prayer
It seems like a way
to establish a relationship with these higher powers,
before attempting to command other.
perhaps less benevolent spirits.
It's a kind of spiritual insurance policy, maybe.
That's an interesting way to put it.
Protection is definitely a key concern here,
The text advises wearing a sanguine stone
which we know as hematite,
as a defense against any attempts by the spirit.
to dissuade or harm the practitioner.
The idea of the spirit actively trying to sabotage the ritual.
Adds a layer of dramatic tension and highlights the perceived danger involved.
It's fascinating how the instructions emphasize secrecy.
In a very controlled environment.
Only 1 or 3 individuals should be present.
And one of them is designated as the Karsist.
Now for our listener,
The Karsist is essentially the lead practitioner
the one who will be speaking the incantations,
and directing the ritual,
wielding what's called the baguette foudroyante.
the lightning wand,
And they stress the importance of a solitary location.
to avoid any interruptions
It paints a picture of a delicate,
and potentially volatile undertaking.
where focus is paramount.
The ritual then moves into a rather dramatic,
And for some disturbing element,
the Chevreau sacrifice,
the instructions are quite detailed.
specifying the need to purchase a young virgin kid or Chevreau,
And to decorate it with a vervain garland.
tied with a green ribbon.
On the 3rd day of the moon,
This offering is specifically addressed to Adonai, Elohim, Ariel, and Jehovah.
the same powerful names invoked in the prayer.
It's a graphic detail, isn't it?
The slaughter of the Chevreau.
The burning of its remains to ashes.
And the scattering of these ashes towards the rising sun.
All accompanied by specific incantations.
It's a powerful image of sacrifice.
A giving up of something precious as part of the ritual
What do you think the significance of such an act might be?
within this system.
Sacrifice is a recurring theme.
In many religious and magical traditions,
It can be seen as a way to offer something of value,
to the spirits or deities being invoked,
to establish a connection.
or to provide energy for the ritual.
The specific details here,
The virgin animal,
the timing with the lunar cycle,
the direction of scattering the ashes,
all likely hold symbolic meaning.
within the context of this grimoire's cosmology.
And importantly, the text specifies that the Chevreau's skin is to be kept,
For creating the Kabbalistic circle.
which is a crucial element for containing and focusing the ritual energies.
Right, and following this rather intense act,
The focus shifts to the creation of the baguette mystérieuse,
the mysterious wand,
or, as we mentioned earlier,
the lightning wand.
this isn't just any stick you find in the woods.
It has very specific requirements.
It must be made of wild hazel that has never borne fruit,
And forked at the top.
with a precise length of 19.5 inches.
The instructions even dictate the exact timing and method for cutting it.
At sunrise, using the same steel blade that was used for the sacrifice.
The level of detail is almost obsessive.
It really emphasizes the idea
That every element of the ritual must be precise and intentional.
the act of cutting the wand is accompanied by another invocation.
To Adonai, Elohim, Ariel, and Jehovah.
But this time, the purpose is to imbue the wand.
With the strength of significant figures like Jacob, Moses, and Joshua,
From the Old Testament,
as well as Samson, Emmanuel, and Zeretnamik.
some of whom have more esoteric associations.
It's a fascinating blend of different religious and magical traditions.
All seemingly aimed at maximizing the wand's power.
We see this blending
This syncretism,
quite often in grimoires
where different traditions are woven together.
to create a sense of greater authority and potency.
And the wand isn't just a piece of wood, is it?
It needs to be further modified.
with iron tips attached to the forked ends,
And these tips then need to be magnetized.
with a heated lodestone,
Even this process has specific ritualistic words associated with it.
said to unite and attract or separate materials,
It's like every step is a mini ritual in itself.
each imbued with its own magical significance.
Next in the sequence
Is the creation of the Kabbalistic circle.
and Ka for our listeners,
The Kabbalistic circle is a fundamental element.
in many grimoire traditions,
Think of it as a protected and consecrated space,
for the ritual
a boundary between the mundane world.
and the spirit realm
In Le Dragon Rouge, this circle is formed using the skin,
of the sacrificed chevreau.
secured to the ground with 4 nails.
And within this boundary,
Another shape is important,
a triangle is traced inside the circle,
using the hematite stone.
starting from the east.
Within this inner triangle,
Specific letters
A, E, A, and J,
are inscribed,
along with the holy name of Jesus,
plus JHS, plus.
enclosed within 2 crosses
The intention here seems clearly to be the invocation.
of protective divine forces.
Within the space where the summoning will occur,
The cursist and any designated companions.
then enter this inner triangle.
Candles and vervain crowns
Vervain being a plant often associated with magical properties.
are placed at the right and left points of the triangle,
The candles are lit.
creating a consecrated space bathed in flickering light,
Additionally, a vase filled with willow charcoal
ignited with brandy, incense, and camphor.
is prepared.
This would create a sensory experience,
The smells of the incense and camphor,
perhaps a slightly intoxicating aroma from the brandy.
and the visual focus of the burning charcoal.
And then there's an incense offering.
Once again directed to Adonai, Elohim, Ariel, and Jehovah.
It seems these divine names are consistently invoked,
Throughout the preparatory stages,
almost like a constant acknowledgement of a higher power.
even while preparing to interact with potentially darker forces.
The text also outlines crucial precautions.
That must be taken during the ritual itself.
Participants are instructed to wear only gold or silver,
Metals traditionally associated with purity and magical conductivity.
and significantly, only the Karsist, lead practitioner, is permitted to speak
This highlights their role
as the sole intermediary with the spirit world.
within the defined and protected ritual space.
Following all these elaborate preparations,
The actual invocation prayers begin,
the first is a prayer directed to the living God.
encompassing the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit,
It's a powerful expression of reverence and submission.
to the highest divine authority.
This is followed by another prayer to the living God
But this one specifically references the creation of humankind.
for happiness and dominion over all things,
It then asks for the power to command spirits,
who possess earthly treasures.
invoking the powerful and terrible words of the clavicle,
That key we talked about earlier.
and listing those familiar divine names once more.
After more incense offerings and prayers,
We finally arrive at the appellations to Lucifer,
there are 3 distinct calls.
each escalating in intensity,
The first is a direct command for Lucifer to appear,
but with a specific condition.
that he does so without any foul odor,
It's an interesting detail.
almost like setting ground rules for the encounter.
The second appellation becomes more forceful,
It orders Lucifer to either appear himself,
or to send his messenger, Astero.
if neither occurs within a quarter of an hour,
The text threatens punishment using the lightning wand.
and invokes a further string of divine and potentially demonic names.
It's a clear escalation of pressure.
And here's where the instructions take a really dramatic turn.
The text includes a specific warning.
If the spirit still hasn't manifested after the second appellation,
You are instructed to read the clavicule
that powerful set of words,
and strike the air with the forked ends of the wand.
directly into the flames of the prepared fire,
And it explicitly tells you not to be afraid,
of any terrifying howls you might hear,
because at that point, all the spirits will appear.
suggesting a disruption in the spiritual realm.
Following this intense instruction,
The third appellation directly orders Lucifer to appear,
or to send Astero,
once again invoking the power of the Holy Trinity.
and the previously mentioned divine names.
If, despite all this, the spirit remains absent,
The instructions reiterate the action,
of plunging the wand tips into the fire,
while reciting the potent words.
of the Grand Clavicule of Solomon. This repetition emphasizes the critical importance of this step.
In compelling the spirit's presence.
And the grand appellation itself is quite a mouthful.
A lengthy conjuration that calls upon a vast array of names.
Adonai, Elohim, Ariel, Jehovah, Agla, Tagla, Mathon,
and many others.
Some of these names have roots in Hebrew and Greek traditions,
All others sound more unique.
and perhaps specifically associated with this grimoire system.
It's a sonic barrage of what are believed to be powerful words.
The text confidently assures the reader
That after repeating these powerful words twice,
the spirit will indeed appear.
and it then describes the appearance of the spirit.
Identified as Lucifer,
The spirit immediately asks,
why its rest has been disturbed,
and even pleads not to be struck again with the wand,
indicating the perceived power of the Karcist.
and the ritual implements,
Solomon
or rather the Karcist acting in his stead,
then issues his demands
stating that the spirit must grant his requests.
or face eternal torment.
Understandably, Lucifer wants to know.
Exactly what these demands are.
It's a classic power dynamic being established.
Solomon's demands are surprisingly specific.
First, the spirit is required to speak to him twice daily.
And to formally approve the book itself by signing it.
Second, the spirit must deliver the nearest hidden treasure.
In return for these significant services,
Solomon offers a seemingly modest payment.
the first gold or silver coin he touches each month.
It makes you wonder about the perceived exchange rate.
In this supernatural economy,
But Lucifer
being a powerful spirit in his own right,
presents a counteroffer.
and it's a much more significant one.
Solomon must agree to give himself over to the spirit in 50 years,
This drastically raises the stakes of the entire transaction.
introducing a long-term cost for immediate gain.
At this critical juncture,
The instructions advise the practitioner
to strike the air forcefully with the wand,
and to reread the clavicule until the spirit submits to their desires.
this really highlights the element of coercion.
That underlies this type of magic.
It's not a polite request, but a forceful command.
Eventually, a negotiation seems to take place.
Lucifer agrees to appear for 2 hours each night,
Approves the book with his signature.
and promises to appear whenever he is called upon,
The spirit also agrees to reveal the location of treasure.
but with the conditions that Solomon keeps the entire affair secret
Is charitable to the poor.
and provides a monthly offering,
So a compromise is reached.
though still with notable caveats,
We then encounter Lucifer's promise.
where he asserts his position as the most powerful emperor
Completely independent, free, and the absolute master.
of the entire underground kingdom,
This reinforces the hierarchical structure.
of the infernal realm that this grimoire draws upon. The text then details the order of the spirit,
Where Lucifer leads the Karcist
who is armed with the wand and the hematite stone for protection.
to the location of the desired treasure,
Any companions involved in the ritual must remain.
safely within the protective confines of the Kabbalistic circle.
There's an intriguing detail mentioned here,
About the Karcist, potentially encountering a large cottony dog,
with a collar that shines like the sun,
identified as a gnome,
guarding the entrance to the treasure.
which the Karcist must ward off using the power of the wand.
It's like navigating a supernatural security system.
The instructions also state that the Karcist,
Will be able to see the person,
who originally hid the treasure,
although they cannot interact with them,
the next step involves throwing the parchment
containing the clavicule's conjuration.
onto the treasure itself,
Taking a small piece of the treasure as a pledge or token,
and then throwing a silver coin as the promised offering.
the retreat is to be done backward.
And the Karcist is advised to take as much treasure as they can carry,
But crucially, not to turn around.
no matter what noises they might hear,
This adds a sense of psychological tension.
to the act of claiming the reward.
Once the treasure is secured back within the circle,
The dismissal of the spirit is read,
this is a formal release.
allowing Lucifer to depart without causing any disturbance,
No noise, no foul odors,
but not without reminding him of the agreed-upon pact.
ensuring he understands the ongoing nature of their arrangement,
This is followed by actions de grâce
which are prayers of thanks offered to God,
for the blessings received.
and for the successful granting of the practitioner's desires.
This section also includes a promise to be charitable to the poor.
Perhaps as a way to appease any lingering moral unease.
About dealing with demonic forces.
It's a recurring theme,
This attempt to balance the darker aspects of the magic.
with outward displays of piety.
The second book within the Dragon Rouge,
Shifts focus to what's called the Sanctum Regnum.
or the Holy Kingdom.
This section explains the Pacta Conventa Demoniorum.
Essentially simplified pacts made with demons.
This is presented as an alternative.
for those who lack the resources or ability.
to perform the elaborate rituals involving the lightning wand.
And the Kabbalistic circle.
It's like a more accessible
Older, it's still risky.
path to magical power.
This part goes on to detail.
The supposed benefits that can be obtained.
Through these demonic pacts,
It's quite a list.
ranging from gaining the favor of women
And uncovering hidden secrets.
to performing nighttime work,
Patrolling the weather.
achieving invisibility, teleportation,
Opening locked doors.
and even acquiring the infamous Hand of Glory.
A macabre magical artifact in folklore.
It's a catalog of classic desires.
And supernatural abilities.
Loading us.
We get a section outlining,
The names and signs of infernal spirits
providing specific sigils or characters.
associated with various demonic entities. This would serve as a visual guide for practitioners looking to identify and potentially summon these spirits,
This then leads into a discussion,
of the superior spirits and their subordinates
establishing a clear hierarchy.
within this infernal system.
Lucifer Rofical is listed as commanding.
Bumiol, Agures, and Marbus,
Sitanasia commands Pruslas, Ammon, and Barbados,
and so on,
with 6 principal or superior spirits.
each having 3 subordinate spirits under their command.
It's presented like a demonic chain of command,
And the text advises practitioners
that the most effective approach is to make a pact,
with one of these principal spirits
and then request that spirit to send one of their subordinates.
to carry out specific tasks
It's like delegating within this infernal workforce.
to get the desired results.
The powers, sciences, and talents of these spirits.
Are then described in detail,
For example, Lucifer Rofical.
is specifically associated with wealth and treasures.
Satanásia is linked to having power over women.
A Galirept is the go-to spirit for revealing hidden secrets.
Flurity is associated with nighttime work and controlling hail.
Sargatanas governs invisibility and teleportation.
And Nibiros is connected to causing harm.
The Hand of Glory.
And knowledge of metals, minerals, and divination.
This allows a practitioner to strategically choose which spirit to engage with.
Based on their specific needs and desires.
The instructions on how to make a pact in this simplified form
Are, as you said, less elaborate.
but still retain key ritual elements,
You still need a hazel one.
which must be cut at sunrise with a new knife.
Along with a hematite stone and 2 blessed candles.
The choice of location for the ritual.
Is also emphasized as important.
The ritual setup involves tracing a triangle on the ground.
Using the hematite stone,
Within or perhaps behind this triangle,
the 2 blessed candles are placed,
along with something referred to as the SN of Jesus,
which likely stands for
Sanctum Nomen Jesus,
the holy name of Jesus.
again suggesting an attempt to incorporate protective religious elements.
The conjuration in this abbreviated pact focuses on invoking
Lucifer, Beelzebub, and Astro.
3 of the more widely known powerful demons.
To favor the summoning of Lucifuge Rofical
The practitioner again commands Lucifuge to appear,
without any foul odor,
and threatens him with the power of the great living God.
and the clavicule of Solomon if he fails to comply.
The apparition of Lucifuge Rofical is described,
In a similar way as before,
with the spirit asking why his rest has been disturbed.
the practitioner then clearly states their demand.
To be made rich by the power of the spirit.
The pact itself in this version,
Involves the practitioner writing an agreement in their own blood.
on a piece of parchment,
In this pact.
they promise to reward Lucifuge at the end of a specified period.
In this case, 20 years.
That act of signing in blood
Adds a very personal and permanent dimension.
to the commitment being made.
If the spirit shows any reluctance,
The practitioner is instructed,
to immediately reread the appellation
and the terrible words of the clavicle.
until the spirit reappears and agrees to the terms
This again underscores the forceful and commanding nature.
of these summoning practices.
Lucifuge Rofical then makes a second offer.
A revised set of conditions
He agrees to provide the nearest hidden treasure
in exchange for the practitioner consecrating a specific coin to him
every first Monday of the month,
and promising to only call upon him for service.
1 day each week,
He also agrees to sign the practitioner's written pact.
solidifying the agreement.
The practitioner
Presumably satisfied with these terms,
agrees to this counteroffer,
but makes a further demand.
that the treasure be shown to them immediately.
It's a final assertion of control in the negotiation,
The instructions then detail the next steps.
following the spirit to the location of the treasure,
Throwing the signed pact onto the treasure itself.
touching the treasure with the wand,
Taking as much of the treasure as possible.
and then returning to the safety of the triangle.
walking backward as before,
Finally, the spirit is formally dismissed.
reminded of the pact they have entered into,
A prayer of thanks is then offered to the Almighty God,
expressing gratitude for the blessings received.
even within the context of a demonic pact,
There's this final acknowledgement of divine power.
and a seeking of divine favor
The very last section of our source,
delves into the secrets of magic art,
offering a rather eclectic collection.
of practical magical formulas and recipes,
This includes the supposed composition of death,
or the Philosopher's Stone,
providing a list of ingredients for creating a substance
that is claimed to have the power.
to transmute base metals into gold. There are also instructions provided.
On how to fashion a divining rod for finding hidden things,
How to influence the outcome of the lottery,
which surprisingly involves reciting an oration before going to bed.
and receiving guidance in a dream.
How to magically charm firearms to be more effective.
And even how to communicate with spirits.
On the eve of St. John the Baptist,
It's quite a diverse range.
of purported magical applications,
And some of the secrets are rather peculiar, aren't they?
like the instructions on how to make people dance naked,
How to achieve invisibility.
which involves boiling a black cat,
A rather grim detail.
how to create the legendary 7-league boot,
For incredibly rapid travel.
and even an 11-league plaster for the feet.
To enhance endurance.
These examples really highlight the blend of folk magic
More elaborate ritualistic practices.
and what might even be considered outright fantasy.
Within this grimoire.
It's truly fascinating compilation,
Of purported magical knowledge.
spanning from the seemingly practical to the wildly imaginative.
And as you said,
It's all presented under this veil of danger, secrecy, and forbidden power.
which undoubtedly contributed to the book's enduring mystique.
Indeed,
The Dragon Rouge stands as a perennially fascinating.
and somewhat unsettling text,
It offers us a glimpse into a world
where individuals believe they could actively engage with
and command supernatural forces,
for variety of purposes
both personal and perhaps even for a deeper understanding.
of the hidden realms.
So for you, our listener,
What does this deep dive into Le Dragon Rouge reveal?
it's more than just a collection of bizarre rituals.
And outlandish claims
It offers insight into the underlying beliefs, fears,
and desires that have driven people throughout history.
to seek out and believe in the power of the occult,
It speaks to a fundamental human longing
for control over their circumstances,
for wealth
for love,
and for knowledge that lies just beyond the veil of the ordinary.
and it prompts us to consider the enduring appeal of such texts
Whether viewed as a dangerous guide
to potentially harmful practices,
or as a historical artifact,
reflecting specific cultural anxieties and aspirations
Le Dragon Rouge serves as a potent example,
of humanity's ongoing fascination.
with the mysterious and the unknown.
On that note, consider this,
In a world that often feels overwhelming,
and beyond our control.
what is the psychological pull of grimoires like the Dragon Rouge
That promise the ability to manipulate unseen forces.
and unlock hidden knowledge?
What fundamental needs or desires?
Within the human psyche do they tap into?
And why does that allure persist?
Even today,
It's a thought to carry with you.
long after our exploration into the Red Dragon concludes.